Hello. Oh, you're muted. There
Good
we go.
morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. It is so good to see your face again. I miss you.
Thank you. I miss you too.
I I was so happy when I saw your message. It literally like makes me so happy when I just like get a message from somebody and I'm like, "Oh, we haven't worked together in, a few months." I'm like, "I'd love to hear like an update
Yeah,
how things are going." So, I love that you sent that message over.
thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course. So, why don't you like let's go ahead and just kind of like start back to the very first time that you even reached out, just so people can kind of have like a picture of kind of like your experience working with me, like where you started, kind of how things are going right now. So before we dive into that, why don't you just share like who you are, what you do, if you want to share anything about that, and then we'll dive into kind of where you were before.
Sure. My name is Kristi, and I am an emotion code practitioner. I'm no longer a health coach. When I first started working with you, I was a health coach, and I learned very quickly that the things that I've tried most of my life to maintain my weight were actually working against me. And so I had a career change shortly after working with you, and am very happy to be doing emotion code.
I love it. And that was like a huge step for you because you were a health
Mhm.
coach for so long, right? And it's like this is what I did to try to get healthy and you know all these things, and it's like it could be scary to create like a career change like that, but I'm so proud of you that you took that leap. That's huge.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's go back to before you joined the program. Like what what were you experiencing in terms of your relationship with food, like the binges, like what, like paint a picture of how things were before joining the program.
Yeah. So I've thought, I mean, since I reached out to you last week, I thought a lot about where the binging started for me. And I mean, um, according to society, diets are what you do to lose weight. So when I was in the eighth grade, I was going to the diet center, and already shutting off those cues that my body was trying to tell me. And I remember, so in South Dakota, you can drive when you're 14. And I remember driving to the gas station being like, I can buy whatever I want. Nobody's going to stop me. And I bought a king size candy bar and I snuck it down to my room. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I was so thrilled to have that freedom. And so I have gained and lost weight, like large amounts. Like last time I lost weight, I lost over 100 pounds. The time before that, it was 50 pounds. And I would catch myself, like I would hit that lowest point, and then I would find myself, not find myself, but I would be in my car eating a 4 pack of cinnamon rolls. Like, it's just one time, nobody's going to know. So this last time, I am home all alone during the day. My boys go to school, my husband works, and I would wait till they left and I'd go hit all these places around town and buy all this food. And I'd either have to eat it before they came home or I would hide it. And then I would obsess about it the whole rest of the time. And it was getting out of control. So I was watching you on TikTok for a while and I'm like, this is what it is. My husband was like, nope, you just need more willpower. You just need to. And I'm like, no, she is onto something. Like, what she is saying is so foreign from what we've been taught, but it makes so much sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like sometimes it can be so frustrating. It's like we know that the things we're doing with food aren't normal, but it's like
Mhm.
we're told like this is just what we have to do. Like we can't honor our cravings. Like we have to restrict ourselves. Like we have to go on these diets. So then we feel like we're the problem. And then when people are telling us like you just got to try harder or have willpower, it's like is that the solution? Like then I'm really broken because I feel like I have
Right.
no willpower, right? And
Yeah.
I think you even shared like with your partner something like a video of mine or something. Like, didn't you say something like that?
I think so. I talked with him quite a bit about it, and
Yeah.
he was like, that doesn't sound right. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting, right? It's like, yeah. I mean,
Yes.
it's so hard for partners to understand. Like even my husband for like the longest time, he still doesn't understand. Like, and it's like I've been binge free
Mhm.
for 3 years and it's like, so it's a whole other conversation. But when you messaged me, I felt you were ready. Like I just
Mhm.
know the people that come to me and they're like, I'm ready, like, let's go. What what do you believe was like the pivotal moment that you were just so ready to get started and like work with me?
The binges were getting out of control. I'm not somebody that can eat a lot in one sitting. Like I can't eat a whole pizza in one sitting, but I had eaten a half gallon of ice cream all by myself in a day. And that was the worst it had ever gotten. And I'm like, I can't keep going this way. Like I cannot, like nothing that I was doing was changing anything day to day, and I felt so stuck and I felt so helpless that I'm like, if nothing changes, nothing changes. I have to reach out and get some help.
Yep. Yeah. Why don't you share like what you've tried? Like what like before obviously joining, like what did you try on your own? What kind of tools or strategies did you try before working with
Yep.
me?
Lots of, I call it diets. I never really restricted food. I wasn't like, well, I binged last night, so I'm not going to eat today. I always needed to eat, but I would always start out where it's a brand new day. I'm going to have a balanced meal. I'm going to add vegetables to every meal. I'm going to just have water. I'm not going to have caffeine because I don't want that messing with my blood sugar. I tried intermittent fasting for just a short period of time and I actually liked it. Like I don't enjoy eating first thing in the morning. I tried just talking myself through it. I'm going to be stronger today. I'm not going to keep doing this. I would beat myself up. Um, but I had no idea. Like I would feel that urge coming on. And sometimes it would be after a day or two. Sometimes it would be after 2 weeks. And it would always be an oh shit, because I knew once that started, eventually, whether it was an hour or a day or 2 days, I needed to give into that because it was so loud in my head. Like that was the only thing on my mind. And I would tell my husband, I'm like, I'm obsessing about food. And he's like, well, don't do it.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
And so I felt very helpless against that loudness. I had no idea how to quiet that in my head. I thought I was just stuck with that.
Yeah. And this is extremely common, right? Like I'm just going to promise myself that I'm never going to do this again, or I'm going to start fresh. Like, Monday comes, or like the start of the day, like today is going to be like a good day. And like that only lasts for so long. Like you said, it's like we could, maybe not binge for like an hour or a day or two, but the urge is still there. And this is why, like, obviously, but for everyone listening, like, this is why, like, distracting yourself or just staying busy, like, none of those things are actually going to get rid of those urges. You might get lucky and not binge today or tomorrow, but until you actually get rid of those urges, like, the binges are still going to happen. So, for you, Kristi, like, what was different from my process? Obviously, like, learning to rewire the brain, like, getting rid of those binge urges. Like, what was that different than what you've tried in the past?
I'm not sure exactly what flipped the switch, but I remember one day, and I shared it with you. I'm like, I'm not thinking about food today. Like I'm thinking about my day. I'm thinking about, I think it took me a couple of days to realize that those constant food thoughts weren't there. Like they just weren't there. And I think knowing, because it was around Christmas time, I think that I had joined, and we had on Christmas Day, we always do just kind of like just ran like meatballs and little smokies and veggie tray and dips, and just kind of, it's not a meal. And so I took a plate, like we use just small plates, and my husband and I were playing cards, and I had this small plate of food, and normally I would hurry up and eat it so I could get another plate of food before the boys ate all of the good stuff or whatever. And I recognized that I was not in a hurry to eat that food because I knew that there was more of it. The boys aren't going to eat all of that in one setting, and I didn't have to gobble it all up so I could get 5 plates of it before anybody else and it was just this peace of mind that it's not going anywhere. There's plenty of food. And it was a huge moment to be like, to actually focus on our game that we were playing instead of like, how quick can I eat that without looking like a pig and get more still without looking like I'm, overeating.
Yeah. Yeah. That scarcity piece is so huge, right? Like whether it's leftovers, like there's only 3 slices of pizza in the fridge, like I better eat it before, somebody else gets it. Or I hope nobody's looking at how much I'm eating. Like there's so much like scarcity and like, being like this, I say it's like a secret agent, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
nobody's watching, and that's what creates so much anxiety. That's what creates this like feeling of just being on high alert all the time. And like you said, like it's so hard to be present with the game or talking to a loved one when you're like, oh, I really want to go get another one. Like, is anyone looking? Like there's so much like
Mhm.
mental energy that's being like leaked out of our brain when we're thinking about these, food and calories and binging all the time. So I love that you were
Mhm.
able to just like have that moment. And I remember like you were like, I'm not
Yeah.
thinking about food a lot. I'm like, everyone has
Yeah.
their light bulb moment. Sometimes it takes a few weeks, sometimes it takes a few months, but everyone has their light bulb moment. And that's it's just so exciting. I love it.
Thank you.
So why don't you share your experience like getting support from me, like somebody who's gone through binge eating, but also like
Mhm.
hearing a few of the other people, experiencing things that you went through. Like, what was your experience being part of a group? I know obviously you do a lot of like group stuff too. So like share your experience in terms of that.
Yeah. At first I wasn't excited about working with the group. I'm like, I just want to work with you. I don't want to work. And then I met the ladies. I'm like, well, they're awesome. Everybody was very transparent. Most people were very vulnerable. And if they weren't initially, they softened very quickly. They're like, this is a very safe place. But to hear people telling your story when you thought you were all alone or you were some monster, it's like, because I was just like, I felt so disgusted with myself. And, seeing women of all different shapes and sizes struggling with the same thing in different, in different ways, but it's like, I'm not alone. And being a health coach, I recognize that binging in some of my clients. And I would tell them, I'm like, this is not what I typically would have told you, but from what I've learned, you have to listen to your body. If you're craving a peanut butter with banana, you have to eat that, and so it's just, you learn so much more by being around people that have similar experiences and thought patterns. And to see, from the outside, it's like, oh, but you shouldn't feel that way. I remember with Jen in our group, I'm like, don't feel that way. It's okay. You just want to help them. But yet turning that onto myself, it was just very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so easy to be like, you don't feel guilt. Like tomorrow's a brand new day. And then as soon as like you feel the guilt or whatever, it's like, oh, like I can't shake this. And it's like sometimes the best advice is always the ones that we give other people. Like it's just the way that it happens.
Yeah.
Um, but I love that, being part of a group. And, I'm so glad that you felt seen and you felt safe to be vulnerable because you were also one of those people that like fully showed up for yourself. And I just want to like acknowledge you for that. And I know I've told you that before, but again, from the very beginning, you messaged me, you're like, I'm ready to do this. Like you showed up, you did the integration worksheets, like you asked your questions, like you fully showed up for yourself. And I think that's really inspiring for everyone listening. So what do you feel helped you? Like, do you feel like that's just kind of like who you are? Like you just, if I'm going to do this, like I'm going to go all in, or like what really helped you take this process seriously?
Um, that's not typically who I am. I typically start something and I don't finish it. So much of what you said I had so many breakthroughs with you. And I know initially I wanted to be perfect, which I think a lot of people that binge, they have that perfect. And I wanted to do the breath work and I wanted to do the future pacing and I wanted to do like all the things. And finally I got to the point where I'm like, just focus on one thing at a time. And that's what I did. And I got a little ways away from it, but I just have started listening to your podcast again. And you give so many nuggets where I'm like, I'm going to work on that today. That's something I need to file away. And so it's not being in the diet industry. I'm used to a quick fix. I've got a wedding in 3 months. I want to lose 60 pounds. All right, let's go do it. And so to have to, I've heard you say it can be a couple of weeks, it can be a couple of months. And so to just integrate everything it truly takes time. It really, really does. And I think that patience with the process, but yet seeing how quickly things work when you implement them, that it was like a reward. It was like it was a reward to be like, okay, I'm doing this today and I already can tell a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. It's finding that balance of like short-term gratification, but also like being patient and like trusting the process, because yeah, it's like as soon as you use the tools, like for example, what I teach, like when you feel the urge to binge and that will help you to not give in, it's like, ooh, like that's exciting. But it's like there's also a piece where it's like, yeah, but repetition, rewiring the brain is going to take time. So this tool is not going to work if I just use it once. It's like, okay, I
Right.
felt good, but I have to keep using it. Like I have to keep utilizing the tools, you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
Mm-hmm.
that. So talk to me a little bit about, obviously you talked about like thinking about food less. Like what are some other wins that you wanted to share? Like whether you were in the program or even like what you're able to do now, like in terms of, your relationship with food, like the binges, like what are some wins that you feel you want to share?
Yeah. The biggest win by far is my body speaks to me. I've always been very in tune with how my body feels, but I didn't know what it felt like to be hungry, because I would always, if I started to feel hungry, I better eat. Um, I thought I had to eat because it was noon or because it was 5:30, and I thought I had to eat what the rest of my family ate. And so to just hearing my body say, I don't want a burger. Like my husband made burgers last night. I'm like, I don't want to eat a burger. So I didn't. I had soup instead. And we still all ate together, because I try to eat so that we can all, I try to eat at times so that I'll be hungry at family meal times. Um, I never thought that I could hear my body say, I don't want a burger. I don't want fries. I don't want sugar. It's too heavy. And somebody told me, they're like, when your vibration is higher, like when you are in a better place, you vibrate at a high, and food also has vibration, fast food has a very low vibration. It brings you down. It's heavy. And I'm noticing, since I've been just increasing positivity and all these types of things, I'm attracted towards lighter foods. I mean, that's what I want. I don't want the heavy. And so I don't have to white knuckle it. I'm not fighting myself to not go through a drive through. I truly am repulsed by the idea of fast food right now. And it's not always that way. I still enjoy, sweets and stuff, but just really being like, okay, I'm finding out I don't love meat. I don't love it. I really, really, and midday, especially at noon, I'm almost always home alone at noon on weekdays. I'm like, who says I have to eat meat? My husband is like, you got to eat meat. You got to have protein. I need to have protein, yes, but I don't have to have meat. And so to honor that, my body's been over the moon happy, because I'm fueling it with all these other things that's not meat.
Yeah.
So it's just listening, being aware.
That is so massive. And this is why like it comes full circle of like why diets don't work, because it's like you're recognizing that maybe you don't like me, like it doesn't make your body
Mhm.
feel good, or like you're not really enjoying it. And it's like how many diets are like, yeah, you got to have the meat at every single meal, like protein or whatever. And it's like
Mhm.
it's so interesting when we really just turn off the external world, turn inwards and be like, what do I feel like eating, and release the rules, like release what we've been told we should do, or this person says this. It's like, what actually is going to make me feel good? It's like not only do you feel your best, but you're less impulsive. Like you're just listening to your body. So that I'm so happy.
Mhm.
That's huge.
Thank
That's
you.
yeah.
I agree. I mean, I never thought I would get to this point, and you're right. And you also said something the other day. You said something about, if you were, it was in one of your podcasts. It was about, I think, about being in somebody else's body. Or I saw on TikTok, like if you borrowed your best friend's body for a week, how would you treat it? And it's like, if you borrowed somebody else's body, you would have to learn to listen to see what it was asking for, instead of just, well, it's 8 o'clock, you better eat breakfast, and it's noon, so you better eat lunch, and this is what you're going to eat. You would truly listen to it. And it's like, why not treat ourselves that way? And that was big too.
Yep. I think for a lot of the times it's like, oh, but I'm different. Like, yeah, but I'm impulsive and I can't take care of my body, or I've treated my body so poorly, like it doesn't deserve to be taken care of. And it's like, it actually is like the opposite. It's like the more you take care of yourself, the more your body actually like sends you these signals. Like when we're impulsive, when we're binging, yeah, we can't hear if we're hungry, yeah, we can't hear if we're full. And
Mhm.
then when we start to actually respect our body, it's like, oh, my body is sending me those signals again, like they're becoming louder. Like I can work
Mhm.
with my body instead of being at war with it. So I think that's amazing.
You know,
So good.
thank you.
Is there anything else you want to share about your experience, or anything that you just want to share? This is like your time. If there's anything else that's on your heart, if you want to just like share with people listening, like any words of encouragement or anything that you have to share that you feel might be helpful.
Gosh, I don't, there was so much that I feel like I learned from your program. Like I said, I'm still implementing it, and I started December and just did the 4 month, program.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's really to just not listen to what other people are saying, because this is so different. Um, did I gain weight doing this? Yes. But I knew big picture, I had to heal all these things before I could start going the other way. And I think that can be terrifying, but recognizing that it's like, and I know there is a handful of times where I'm like, I need to go back. I need to go back to restricting. I need to go back to, dieting. And I would try it. I would try. And within hours, like the binge, like I would want to binge when I hadn't binged for weeks.
Yeah.
And so that, it's like you can tell me till you're blue in the face, but to see how quickly those urges came back when I felt like I had some space from them, it's like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. Because when I'm listening to my body, because my body didn't talk to me. Like I had completely shut that part of my body off. And when it's talking to you, it's just amazing to be, if you listen to that and you don't listen to all these other people saying you need this and you need this and you need to fast, or don't fast, or have protein, or don't have, listen to your body, because it's going to tell you exactly what it needs,
Yeah.
and nobody else knows that.
Totally. Totally. And I always like, I'm always like, you guys, like, you can do whatever you want. Like, you always have the freedom to go back to
Mm-hmm.
dieting. And it's like, I always say that because I know as soon as you go back to the diets, it's like, then you firsthand get to experience it. Like you said, it's one thing for me to say, when you go back to dieting, those urges are going to intensify. And then it's another to actually experience it. And like you said, within like, a few hours, it's like those urges are so much stronger. So you're like, it's literally just not worth it. Like I need to do things
Mm-hmm.
sustainably in the proper order. And then you got to have it all. Now you're listening to your body, you're not thinking about food as much. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no more intense, like crazy loud, controlling urges. Like that's what it's all about. But you were the one that stuck it out. Not everybody sticks it out. And you're the one who
Thank you.
trusted the process. You trusted me, you trusted the process, you trusted yourself, and you just didn't give up on yourself. So I'm also really proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Well, this has been amazing. It was, like I said, just so nice that you just like slid in my DMs and I'm like, do you want to come on the podcast? Like, this is going to be so much fun. So thank you for just like updating me. And, I'm always here for you with whatever you need. And I'm so glad we were able to do this together.
Me too. Thank you.
You're so welcome.